Jason Turner didn't believe in fate, but he did believe in timing. The rain had started just as he locked the auto shop for the night. His 6-year-old daughter, Emma, sat bundled in the front seat of his beat-up pickup, clutching a peanut butter sandwich and humming off-key to the radio. Life was simple, if a bit worn around the edges. They drove the winding, pine-lined road toward home when Jason noticed a vehicle stopped by the shoulder, a silver Ducati motorbike leaning awkwardly, its rider pacing nearby in the drizzle. Most folks around the small mountain town of Silver Creek knew how to fix a flat. Which meant this wasn't a local. He pulled over without thinking. "You okay?" he called out through his roll-down window. The woman turned. Even under the helmet, there was something striking about her. Her long coat was soaked, boots muddy, and she moved like someone who wasn't used to being stranded. "I think the tire's blown," she said. "And I have no idea what I'm doing." Jason stepped out, wiping his hands on a rag. Emma peeked from the truck window. "Mind if I take a look?" "Please," the woman replied, exhaling with relief. 20 minutes later, Jason had the tire fixed and the chain realigned. The woman, grateful and drenched, removed her helmet. Jason paused, momentarily caught off guard. She was beautiful, but not in an obvious way, more like someone who belonged in a magazine you accidentally bought at the airport. "I'm Jason," he said, reaching for his thermos and pouring her a bit of coffee. She accepted it with a grateful smile. "Sophie. Thank you. Seriously. You saved me." "You from around here, Sophie?" he asked casually. "No, just passing through," she replied, her voice neutral. "Needed a break from city life." Emma, curious as ever, cracked open the truck door and waved. "Hi." Sophie waved back, crouching slightly to Emma's level. "Hi there. What's your name?" "Emma. Daddy fixes everything." Sophie laughed. "I can see that." Jason felt something shift, almost imperceptibly. There was a quiet sincerity in Sophie's tone, something rare. And oddly, familiar. Not just another rich stranger breezing through the mountains. "Where you headed?" he asked, half expecting her to say LA or San Francisco. "Nowhere in particular," she answered. "Just away." Jason didn't press. He knew what it felt like to want distance from something. "Well, there's a small motel in town. Cheap, quiet, and the folks there won't ask questions," he said. "Tell 'em Jason sent you." Sophie looked at him, really looked. "Thank you." He tipped his head. "No problem. Ride safe." As she rode off, Jason watched until the red tail light vanished into the rain. Back in the truck, Emma looked up. She was pretty. Jason chuckled. That she was. But even as he drove home, something lingered. Not her beauty, not her voice. It was her eyes. Eyes that seemed like they'd seen everything, and yet were searching for something more. Sophie woke to birdsong and the scent of pine drifting through the open window. The modest room at the Silver Creek Inn was small but clean, the kind of place where no one asked questions and everyone left to be. Just what she needed. The ride out of the city had been impulsive. Trading her designer clothes for jeans and leather, she'd packed her Ducati and driven until the skyline turned into forests. She hadn't told her assistant. Hadn't even left a note. She just needed to breathe. To be someone else, if only for a while. After a lukewarm shower and the best sleep she'd had in months, Sophie wandered into town. Silver Creek looked like it had leapt out of a postcard. One main street. Brick storefronts. Hand-painted signs. No chain stores. Just mom-and-pop places with crooked shutters and flowers in window boxes. Her LA instincts scanned for paparazzi or anyone who might recognize her, but this town felt 1,000 miles from her billionaire life. She passed a cafe called the Clover Cup and stepped inside. A bell above the door jingled. "Be right with ya," called a voice from the back. Sophie took a seat near the window and glanced at the handwritten menu. No oat milk, no espresso shots, just coffee, black or with cream. It was perfect. A woman in her 50s, wearing an apron dusted with flour, appeared. "Morning, stranger. Just passing through?" Sophie smiled. "Something like that. I'm Miriam. I run this place. You hungry?" "Starving." 10 minutes later, a plate of scrambled eggs, toast, and crispy bacon sat before her. As she took her first bite, the bell above the door jingled again. Jason walked in, Emma skipping beside him. He spotted Sophie almost immediately. "Didn't expect to see you still in town." She gave a small wave. "Didn't expect to still be here either." Miriam glanced between them. "You two know each other?" "Helped her out yesterday," Jason said. "She had a flat." "Ah, Jason," Miriam said, nodding. "Fixes everything. Even my oven when it acts up." Emma tugged at Sophie's sleeve. "You staying here now?" Sophie smiled. "Just for a little while." Jason grabbed coffee to go and sat Emma on a stoolie. "Sophie, this is the heart of Silver Creek. You'll get to know everyone in about 3 days." "That fast, huh?" He chuckled. "It's not like LA." Her eyes darted to his. "How'd you—" "Your boots," he said. "Limited edition. I fix bikes, remember? I notice details." Sophie blinked. Few people caught things like that. Most looked past her or only saw her wealth. "You're not planning to hide out forever, are you?" he asked, half teasing. "I'm not hiding," she replied quietly. "Just figuring some things out." Jason studied her, sensing the weight beneath her calm. "Well, you picked a good town to figure in." Emma interrupted, holding up a crayon drawing. "I made you something." Sophie leaned down. It was a stick figure of her with a helmet, standing next to Jason and Emma. Her heart tugged. "Thank you, Emma. I love it." Jason stood to leave. "We're headed to the park. If you feel like exploring, it's just down the road." Sophie watched them go, Jason's strong, steady figure beside his bright, bouncing daughter. Something about them made her want to stay a little longer. Just a little. Sunday morning in Silver Creek moved at its own pace. Birds chirped. Church bells rang softly in the distance. Life didn't rush here, it strolled. Sophie found herself walking toward the park Jason had mentioned, a to-go cup of black coffee in hand. She'd planned to stay a single night, maybe 2. But something about this town, its simplicity, its warmth, slowed her down in the best way. The park was more a patch of grass with a small playground and a few benches, tucked between tall pines. Jason was there, as promised, gently pushing Emma on a swing while she giggled with abandon. He saw Sophie before she could announce herself. "Look who showed," he said, smiling. "City girl braving the wilderness." "Don't tell anyone," she said, grinning. "I'm starting to enjoy it." Emma waved enthusiastically. "You came." Sophie nodded. "I did. I had to deliver this important artwork." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out Emma's drawing from the cafe. Framed it with a napkin. Emma beamed, taking it reverently. "Now it's real art." Jason chuckled, wiping his hands on his jeans. "You're making a strong case for local citizenship." Sophie sat beside him on the bench. "It's peaceful here. I didn't realize how much I missed that." He glanced sideways. "Silver Creek'll do that to you. Sneaks up when you're not looking." They sat in silence for a moment, watching Emma swing. Sophie spoke first. "You raise her on your own?" Jason nodded. "Since her mom passed. Cancer. It's been a few years." "I'm sorry." "Thanks." Emma doesn't remember much. She was young. I try to make life steady for her. Simple. Not always easy, but she's a good kid. She seems happy. She is. Kids don't need much. Just love and truth. That's what I try to give her." Sophie admired the honesty in his voice. No self-pity. No performance. Just real. "What about you?" he asked. She hesitated. "Let's just say my world got too noisy. I needed to remember who I was without all the chaos." He nodded. "No shame in stepping away. Most people think it's running." He looked at her. "Depends on whether you're running from something or towards something." She let that hang in the air. She didn't have an answer. Not yet. Emma came running over. "Can we get ice cream?" "It's 10 in the morning," Jason said. "But it's Sunday," she insisted, like that explained everything. Sophie laughed. "I like her logic." Jason rolled his eyes playfully. "Fine. But you're sharing with Sophie." Emma squealed and grabbed both their hands. "Let's go." As they walked to the town's one and only ice cream shop, Sophie felt a strange warmth blooming inside her. Not the kind that came from attention or admiration, but from belonging. From being seen. The kind she hadn't felt in a very long time. By the 4th day in Silver Creek, Sophie had a routine. Mornings at the Clover Cup, afternoons exploring dusty antique shops and forest trails, evenings at the motel with a paperback she never quite finished. But always, somehow, Jason and Emma became part of her day. They shared simple things, Coffee, conversation, laughter. Never anything more. Yet beneath the quiet moments was a tension Sophie couldn't ignore. Not uncomfortable. Just unspoken. One late afternoon, clouds rolled in as she browsed through an old bookstore on Main Street. The air smelled of aged paper and cedar. A storm began tapping against the windows, soft at first, then steadily drumming. She didn't mind the rain anymore. In fact, she welcomed it. She was just about to leave when Jason entered, jacket damp and hair tousled. "Didn't peg you for a reader," he said with a grin. She held up a book of poetry. "Even billionaires read, you know." He blinked. She realized too late what she'd said. "So that's your secret," he said, voice careful. Not angry. Not shocked. Just still. Sophie lowered the book. "I didn't mean to tell you like that." "You didn't tell me at all," he said. "I didn't lie. I just left some things out." Jason stepped closer, voice low but steady. "You don't owe me anything, Sophie. But I need to know, are you just passing through, or hiding from something?" She took a breath. "I'm hiding from a life I'm not sure I chose. My name, my family, the empire I'm supposed to run, it's all noise. I didn't want to be worshipped or managed. I just wanted to be me, without the headlines." Jason's eyes softened. "And who is that, exactly?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That's what I'm still figuring out." A silence stretched between them. Outside, thunder rolled low in the distance. He gestured to the front. "Come on. I'll drive you back. No one walks in this weather." They sat in his truck as rain streaked the windows, the heater humming softly. Sophie stared ahead, her voice barely audible. "My mother left when I was 9, she said. Not for another man. Not for anything. She just disappeared. I was raised by assistants, tutors, guards. I learned early how to wear the right mask." Jason nodded slowly. "So you built walls? Thick ones. And now?" "I think I want someone who doesn't need me to be perfect. Who doesn't care how many zeros are in my account." Jason didn't respond right away. Instead, he reached across the center console and handed her a napkin. "For what?" she asked. "You're crying," he said gently. She hadn't realized. He smiled just enough to light the space between them. "I don't care about your last name, Sophie. I care about how you treat people. How you treat Emma. And how you look when you finally stop pretending." She turned to him. "What if I'm scared of who I am without pretending? Then let's find out together." In that moment, something shifted, not loud or dramatic. Just real. And for Sophie, real was everything. The days in Silver Creek blurred into something soft and steady. There was no rush here. No meetings, no assistants, no stylists reminding Sophie of who she was supposed to be. And more, she didn't miss that life. Not even a little. Each morning, she found herself walking to the garage where Jason worked. Sometimes she'd bring coffee. Sometimes Emma would already be there after school, legs swinging off a workbench, watching her dad rebuild engines like he was putting together pieces of the universe. Sophie didn't understand mechanics. But she understood rhythm. The way Jason moved with purpose and ease, the way he never spoke more than needed. That was the thing about him, he made silence feel like safety. One afternoon, Sophie arrived to find him elbow-deep in a battered motorcycle, grease on his hands and sweat on his brow. "Looks serious," she said, stepping inside. He grinned. "Old Harley. Won't start. Won't quit either. Like some people I know." She raised a brow. "Is that aimed at me?" He smirked. "If the boot fits." She handed him a bottle of cold iced tea. "I come bearing peace offerings." He took it and nodded his thanks. "You don't have to keep showing up, you know." "I know," she said. "But I want to." Jason paused. That simple statement held weight. In her old world, "I wanted to" always came with strings. Here, it was a truth she offered freely. "Emma's been asking when you'll come for dinner again," he said casually. Sophie smiled. "I'll bring dessert." That evening, she arrived at the small two-bedroom house Jason called home. The screen door creaked. The living room smelled of baked chicken and warm bread. The table was set for 3, simple, mismatched plates, flowers in a mason jar, and a candle that Emma insisted on lighting. They ate, laughed, and played board games after dinner. Sophie found herself sitting on the floor, her heels kicked off, giggling as Emma triumphantly placed the last piece of a puzzle. "You're officially part of the Turner Puzzle Club," Emma declared. "I'm honored," Sophie replied, offering a mock bow. As Emma ran off to get her bedtime storybook, Jason leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "She really likes you." Sophie looked up at him, barefoot and content. "I really like her." He studied her. Whatever this is between us, it's real, Sophie. But I need to know where it's going." Sophie's smile faded slightly. Not from fear, but from the weight of the question. She stood and walked over to him. "I don't have all the answers yet. I'm still figuring out who I am when I'm not running a billion-dollar brand." "I don't need you to have answers," Jason said. "I just need to know you're not leaving tomorrow." She looked at him for a long moment. "I'm not." And that night, as she helped Emma into pajamas and stood beside Jason at the doorway after tucking her in, she felt something shift again. Something quieter than fireworks, but stronger than she expected. Trust. Not yet love. Not quite. But something that pointed directly to it. It started with a phone call. Sophie had just finished helping Emma plant marigolds in the small backyard garden when her phone, long buried at the bottom of her purse, buzzed for the first time in days. She almost didn't answer. But old instincts die hard. "Sophie?" came a familiar voice, her assistant, Camille, equal parts relieved and exasperated. "Oh, thank God. You are alive." Sophie sighed. "Hi, Camille. You've been gone for 10 days. No press release. No contact. The board's panicking. Your father's threatening to freeze your accounts. I told you, I needed space." "Yes, but space doesn't mean disappearing off the face of the earth. You're trending on social media, Sophie. Someone posted a blurry photo of you getting ice cream with a child. People think you've secretly adopted." Sophie closed her eyes. So much for peace. "I'm not ready to come back." "Well, that's a problem," Camille snapped. "Because your father is coming. He landed in Denver this morning. He's on his way to find you." The line went quiet. Sophie stood still, heart hammering in her chest. Later that night, the storm rolled in. Not a figurative one, a real one. Thunder growled across the mountains. Rain hammered the roof of Jason's house. Inside, Sophie paced the living room while Jason folded Emma's laundry with calm precision. "You okay?" he asked, noticing her distant expression. "No," she said honestly. "I think my past is catching up." She explained everything, her family's legacy, the business empire, her controlling father. How she walked away from the pressure and expectations, hoping to find a sliver of herself out here. Jason listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't flinch. When she finished, he only said, "I was wondering how long you'd carry that weight before setting it down." Sophie turned to him, startled. "I didn't want to drag you into it," she said. "Too late," he replied softly. "I'm already in." She looked at him, raw and unsure. "What if I get pulled back? What if he forces me to go?" Jason stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "Then you decide what you want. Not what your father wants. Not what the board wants. You. You make it sound easy. It's not. But it's worth it." There was another crack of thunder, closer this time. Then a cry from down the hall. "Emma!" They rushed to her room where she sat upright, eyes wide, hands clutching her blanket. Jason knelt beside her. "Just a storm, kiddo. You're safe." Sophie sat on the other side, gently brushing Emma's hair from her face. "Would it help if I stayed?" Emma nodded and crawled between them, snuggling under the covers. They sat in silence, the three of them listening to the rain, to the storm, and to the steady rhythm of each other's breathing. That night, Sophie lay awake long after Emma drifted off. Jason was in the doorway, watching. "You're not alone in this," he said. And for the first time, she believed him. The next morning, the storm had passed, but the sky still held a heavy, uncertain stillness, like the world was holding its breath. Jason made pancakes while Emma colored at the kitchen table. Sophie stood by the window, watching the mist rise from the pines. Her phone buzzed again. A text. "Arriving by noon. Be ready, Dad." No hello. No apology. Just command. Jason noticed the flicker of tension in her shoulders but didn't say anything. Instead, he poured her coffee and placed it beside her. "You don't have to face him alone," he said quietly. Sophie looked at him. "But I do, Jason. This is mine to resolve." I can't ask you to step into this mess." "You're not asking," he said. "I'm offering." She didn't answer, but her fingers curled around the warm mug like an anchor. At exactly 12:06 p.m., a black SUV pulled up outside the garage. The man who stepped out was sharp-suited and sharp-eyed, with a presence that belonged in boardrooms and financial headlines. Richard Whitmore had built an empire and expected everyone, including his daughter, to act like a cog in its machine. Sophie stepped out alone to meet him. Jason watched from a respectful distance, Emma beside him, silent for once. "Silver Creek?" Richard said with thinly veiled disgust, scanning the town like it offended him. "You chose this over your life?" "No," Sophie said. "I chose me." "You're acting like a child. We have a shareholders meeting in 2 days. You've been irresponsible, reckless." "I've been free," Sophie interrupted. Her voice was calm but steady. "And for the first time in my life, I'm not apologizing for it." Richard narrowed his eyes. "You think this life is real? These people? They don't know who you are." "They know exactly who I am. Because for once, I'm not hiding behind a last name." Her father scoffed. "You're wasting your potential." Sophie crossed her arms. "No. I've just stopped trading it for approval." She turned to leave, but paused. "You can take the car back to Denver. I'm staying." And just like that, she walked away, back toward the garage, toward Jason and Emma, toward a life that was still uncertain but finally hers. Richard didn't follow. That night, they sat on the porch. Emma dozed beside them, wrapped in a blanket, head on Sophie's lap. "You really staying?" Jason asked softly. Sophie nodded. "I've spent most of my life being exactly who everyone needed me to be. But here, with you, with her, I don't have to pretend. I don't know where this leads, Jason. But I want to find out." He reached for her hand, calloused fingers closing gently over hers. "Then we'll figure it out together." She looked out at the stars, breathing in the scent of pine and promise. Not long ago, she had ridden into this town searching for silence, for a way to escape the noise of her world. But what she found was far more valuable. She found herself. She found a small town with a big heart. And she found a man who didn't care about the name she carried, but the heart she offered.